Hey everyone, getting ready to talk to you guys and go live. It's been a while since I've done this. I'm trying to be better at these things. I just need to make sure I'm live on the Instagram side of things. So give me a second. All right, we are here. We are live. Hi, I'm Nzinga. For those who are new here, or not quite sure how to pronounce my name, also known as Yes Baby, I Like It Raw. Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Tell me where you at. Tell me what platform you're on, because actually right now I'm on multiple platforms. So where are you checking in from? Are you on YouTube with me right now? Are you on Instagram, or are you on Facebook? Wherever you are, and I just thought, can you tell me where you are in the world? Like, are you in America? What state? What city? Or are you in a different part of the world? Because I know I have people who follow me in different places. Today, I'm just talking about my journey. I've been plant-based now. This year is going to make 25 years. I cannot believe it, but here we are. I'm getting ready to make some breakfast. I've already washed and cleaned my veggies and my fruit for my juice that I'm making. I got my Nama here, J2, that I'm about to use. And then I'm gonna have, along with the drink, gonna have a chia pudding that I've made. So again, for those who are just joining, hey, what's up? How you doing? My name's Nzinga. Also known as Yes Baby, I Like It Raw. I like saying that, but it can get people in trouble. Someone got in trouble yesterday. They're like, yeah, I'm going to ask them if they have your company there. I was like, I don't think you want to yell that out loud. And it was just like, after the fact, it was like, oh, yeah. So today I'm making a green drink. The drink that I'm making has the following ingredients. We have cucumber. We have half a lemon, a green apple, celery, as well as kale, and some ginger. There's some ginger in here. What I like about this Nama, and let me see if I can move this over, is that I can throw all of these ingredients in there. I do also have another juicer that I really love, because I don't have to do all this chopping that I had to do on the front end for this. So that's one of the things I love about this other juicer I have. But the Nama, I fill up, and then I put everything in. So I'm going to fill this up with all my ingredients. My celery, my cucumber, my lemon, and then there goes my ginger. And then I just shut it all up in there. And then we're good to go here. And then I just turn it on. Make sure I'm plugged up. I don't think I'm set up properly. Oh, I'm not. There we go. So that's my, this is like a light green drink. The lemon and the apple offset the taste of this. So this is like a nice intro green drink, I say to people who want to start juicing and they're not quite sure to start. This is like a really good place to start green-wise. I try to start my day off with a juice if possible, or try to get like a juice in at some point of the day. So here we are making my green drink for the day. And this, what I put like 4 celery stalks, 1 large cucumber, half of a lemon, 5 leaves of kale, and then I added ginger and 1 green apple. And as you can see, it's giving me a nice bunch of juice. Sometimes I have to use the plunger, but in this case I don't, because this drink is just pretty cool to go. How's everybody doing today? I'm explicitly having this drink because I'm getting ready to go to Soca Sweat, which is a Caribbean-inspired workout event. And it's going to be high energy, and this green juice is just going to give me the energy I need to make it through it, because it's like back-to-back instructors. I'm on the front end and the back end of it, so I'm the person who's going to warm everyone up, and then I'm also the person who's going to cool everyone down for this one. So this drink is going to be my power drink. I'm going to have half of it today, or at this point, and then the other half later on in the day. So, yeah. And as you can see, we're pretty good here. I think my favorite part about these new juicers is that it mixes everything in, and then I can do the nice, like, reveal of drink where it like pours out. So that's what I'm getting ready to do right now. Yeah, I like to reverse it out to make sure I got every piece of vegetable that's in there, because I feel like I have a little celery that I could just get, and it just went in, nothing is left. And then do my pour. I like to make sure I get all my juice out. And so that gave me about this much. So that's about 500 milliliters, or about 2 cups right here. So that's part of breakfast A. And then I'm going to make a chia pudding to go. And I'm going to use this to make some crackers later. So I'm just going to keep that there. Now for my chia pudding, what I did was I made some chia pudding about 2 days ago. I made some hemp seed milk from scratch, which is like my #1 recipe on my YouTube channel. Like every day it gets love. And so I made my hemp seed milk from scratch. Then I mixed in my chia seeds, and then we got this nice yummy mix. And that's also on my YouTube channel as well as my website, if you want to check out the recipe. So I'm just going to take a little chia pudding and put it in my bowl. Okay. And then I'm going to add this raw granola. I got this raw granola from Whole Foods. It's from Glacier's Farm. For those of you who are in South Florida, Glacier's Farm has amazing raw options. I didn't have time to make granola. I had a raw cooking demo the other day, and I wanted to make sure they could taste raw granola. So I got this, and I still had some left over. So I'm going to sprinkle some of this into my bowl. Thing about granola is a little is like a serving. If you have a handful, it's like 2 servings. Granola is so deceiving because it's so yummy, but the serving size is like, eh. And I'm going to take some dragon fruit and put that in here. And this dragon fruit is from Taya Foods. It's frozen. It's red. And if anyone knows about dragon fruit, if it's colorful, it doesn't have the most flavor. But I got all this other stuff happening. I'm going to put this away and I'll be right back. For those who are watching, where you at? Now I'm gonna add some extras in here because I made this with hemp seeds. I'm not adding hemp seeds, but typically I like to add hemp seeds into my mix. What I am gonna add is a few goji berries in there. And I want to add cacao nibs, and I'm going to keep it simple today. And find my spoon. And I'm about to get to talking. I'm just going to pour my green drink in here. Had a little spill. That's okay. Not too much was lost here. All right. Okay, green drink. Check. Chia pudding with goji berries, raw granola, and dragon fruit. Check. And we're about to sit down and shout it out. I'm trying to move things out the way. In the background is my garden. Look at my garden, y'all. Oh, so good. So I've got a hydroponic garden going on right now, and then I also have an outdoor garden. So I'm excited to be able to eat more food, really farm to table. So good morning. How's everybody doing today? I'm not sure if anyone's commenting. I'm going to keep talking. Okay. So today's live is about my journey in the plant-based vegan. How did I get here? What are the things that I learned? Tips. And how can you use this as a way to heal your body? So if you have any questions, send them my way. And then I'm just going to make sure I can see any comments that are coming through. Okay, so I went vegan sort of cold turkey. In that there were some things that I naturally wasn't consuming because I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. And if you know anything about Adventism, there's a health message. And within that health message, veganism and being kosher are front and center. And my parents are from Haiti. And so veganism just resonated a little bit easier as an approach. I said veganism. Being kosher resonated with them a little bit more. And so that was our default in household. So as a result, my parents, we didn't eat. I've never had crab, lobster, shrimp, no bottom feeders. I've never had, well, I wouldn't say I've never had pork, but I had a friend who tricked me into eating pork. Nonetheless, we're not going to talk about that. Just to prove a point, and that was not cool. And so I would say that the transition wasn't as hard because I'm used to restriction. Leading up to that August, I was not eating as much red meat and things like that. And I just knew I wanted to do it, but I just didn't feel like I had the right context up until that weekend. And that weekend, my mom like went to Haiti for the first time after 21 years. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about the people around me. I can just kind of think about myself. And I went cold turkey with my veganism. Now, was I trying to be vegan? On the front end, no. But when I started to try to really address my health conditions, it just felt like the best fit when I started to do research around it. And so that's how I came into veganism, is for my health. So there's different pathways that people find for veganism. Some people go towards veganism for the animals. Other people go to veganism for their health. And that's why right now in this vegan world or plant-based world, there's a lot of conflict in terms of titles, because a lot of people say if you don't care about the animals, you shouldn't call yourself vegan. I think that as you dive deeper into it, it does become a thing. You know, like I don't believe in harm to anyone or anything, but that's a whole different conversation. So I went plant-based, and initially I was like, okay in regards to eating, but I would say that once I really wanted to dive into reversing the symptoms that I was having to address. So I was diagnosed at that point with a pituitary tumor. I have a prolactinoma and PCOS, as well as an autoimmune called Scleroderma. Once I wanted to really address those things, I was just getting a little bit overwhelmed, and literally I always say I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, because at that point I was really sick, like migraines, with my autoimmune, it really attacks my skin, so I get these permanent scars. And if you can imagine as a young woman how that could impact your self-esteem. And so I was just like, I don't want this to spread anymore. And I remember going to a dermatologist in Boca, and she was like, we can't do anything for you because you're Black. And I was just like so disheartened by her response. And so it's just like, let me take a holistic approach to it. And one of the things I felt that I could really deep dive a little bit more into was my foods. And so I started to dive a little bit deeper as food as medicine. And when I went down that rabbit hole, I really started to look at raw veganism as an approach for my healing, because I knew that because of what I had been putting into my body up until that point, and just even when I think about it culturally, detoxing and cleanses were part of the culture. Because I remember when my autoimmune first started presenting, my grandma was like, oh, we need to do a cleanse. And she gave me this concoction that was like castor oil and coffee. It was horrible. And she's like, we're going to have to keep her home for the weekend. And she gave me the cleanse. It definitely washed me out. And I will say that my skin sort of cleared up too when I think about it. So I was just like, well, there might be something there. Because there was a point in my life that I was just like, oh, maybe it's not, maybe it is. And so when I started to look and research, and what I found is that detoxification and cleansing could be really good, especially when you use things like raw foods. So like, I started to learn different recipes. I started to order books. I started to look at stuff that was online. And I went raw, and I felt amazing. I felt great. Like I felt better than I had felt in a long time. And because I was taking this holistic approach, I thought I could go off my medication cold turkey. And that was a disaster. But I had a really amazing team of doctors. I will always say that. Shout out to Dr. Melman, Dr. Sussman, and I can't remember the name of my DO. But I had a negative response. And one of the things that is impacted by my pituitary tumor is my menstrual cycle. And so when I got off the medication, I had a month-long period, and I was just like, heck no. And so when I came off the medication and that happened, I called up my doctors, and then I went in for a doctor's visit. And at this point, me and my gyno go back almost 20 years, right? I started seeing him when I was like 12, when we were first trying to figure out what was going on with me, and then later found out it was a tumor. And he was like, hey, I get it. Like, that totally makes sense. But at this point, you've been on these medications. I think I was at this point for 10 years, a decade, and you just can't get off of these medications cold turkey and not expect your body to respond in the way that it did. So what I'll do is we're going to lower your dosage as you navigate approaching this in a different way. And I remember going to see my DO, and it was like, oh, that sounds like it's going to be really excellent for you. And so everybody was on board. And I know that we live in an age that we think that our team of doctors or a physician or our primary care would be opposed to it. But if they're well versed in food as medicine, that they know that these things could be really beneficial. So I had the lower dosage, stopped menstruating, and then shout out to Yaya Feeney. And she recommended a holistic practitioner, and he gave me a regimen of herbs and supplements to take. And between that and the food, I was able to completely wean myself off the medication. I was able to have a regular menstrual cycle, which was a big deal for me because part of the reason I was on medication was I couldn't self-regulate my cycle. I could only have a menstrual cycle with assistance. My autoimmune stopped spreading with my scleroderma. It presents a lot on the skin side of things. And so it was, and I'll see if I can show a picture one day. I need to take a picture because sometimes you can't see it, but there's one here. And at one point it was trying to show up on my cheek, but that kind of went away. Whew. And so I was able to really place those things in remission. And I say remission because I'm later to say healed completely, because if I am stressed, if I do certain things, I know that can take me over the top. And I think that's part of the conversation too, because as I was refining what I was putting in my mouth, I also recognized that I eat with all my five senses, and that stress was a major component to the things that I was addressing. So shout out to Dr. Love. I remember meeting Dr. Love as I was on this journey. So I was putting a team. I had a team on like the traditional route in regards to my health, but then I started to build out like my holistic wellness team. So spiritually, learning how to meditate, that was Yaya Feeney and Fubalade. And then I think she put me on to Dr. Love, or a shout out to Pyramid Books and Akbar, because he knew what I was trying to do as well. And I would go to his book to pick up different books, his bookstore, Pyramid Books, to pick up more books to research and learn. And I think he's how I found Dr. Love. And then I had a conversation with him. And the first thing he said to me when I told him I had scleroderma, he was like, oh, that's a disease of fear. And I was just like, you don't know what you're talking about. But even that's that 20-year-old arrogance. And then when I sat with myself and started going to therapy, it was just like, yeah, for sure. When that started to show up, I was living in a state of perpetual fear. And that's a conversation in itself, because this work to heal our bodies is so also related to our mind space and just also addressing our trauma. And so much of my healing was not just from a place of food, external work. It was also internal work. And food does do internal work, but some of that internal work had to be supported with therapy. And also embedding practices into my lifestyle that allow me to really manage my stress in a better way, because obviously the way I was carrying my stress was being harmful to self. So that was 25 years ago. What an amazing journey. Like, I think about it. I'm so grateful for the people who came into my life. At that point, I was pre-med and I thought I was going to be a neurosurgeon. And that kind of had me think about, I was deep in my major at that point, and I was finding out that oftentimes when we do surgery, we create damage to fix damage, and that just didn't resonate with me. And I'm a nerd, so I wanted to understand the insides outs of what I was doing. And one of the books I was reading was African Holistic Health by Dr. Laila Africa. And then later on, I found out he was coming to town and he was doing a certification. And so then I ended up doing my holistic health practitioner certification with Dr. Africa, which was so amazing. Like, I was eating that stuff up that he was giving us, because that training is a combination of Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, and strong anatomy, physiology, medical background. Like, when I think about the breadth of information that I was receiving from Dr. Africa and being able to make those connections that, you know, if you're seeing this physical ailment, then these are the things that are happening on the mental and spiritual side. And so if I'm addressing a client, that work cannot just be on the physical side, because there's a mind body connection that we also have to address. Man, I still get sad when I think that he's not here. But to anyone who's done his training, we need to make sure that we keep his work going, because, I mean, we learned how to read the eye, the tongue, the hand. We learned how to read urine and blood pressure. Blood pressure can be a real indicator of what was going on into someone's life. And so I was using that information, one, because I wanted to heal myself, but I also wanted to support the people around me, because there were people who were not well, specifically in-house, at home, in my family. And I always knew I wanted to be a healer, but I wasn't framing it as that title. I was saying I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a doctor. But the reality is I wanted to help people heal. And I wanted people, as I moved through my journey, what rang true to me is that healing is this most powerful when you own that process, when you can ask the questions, when you can investigate with your team. And so a lot of the work what I do with clients, and I try to do with my platform, is to not just show you, but also inform the why, the who, what, where, what, and all the things. So raw foods for me has always been in this journey, because it helped me reduce the inflammation in my body. It helped me fix my gut. It helped me maintain a healthy weight. It helped me get the nutrients that I needed to get from my food. There's so many ways that it helped. And as I dived into it deeper, there were so many yummy dishes that I could make that didn't require me to turn on a stove. And then I later on got certified as a raw vegan chef. So I'm not sure if people are saying things, because it's not showing anything on my side right here. But, and I thought I would see stuff, but that's been a bit of my journey. Yes, Baby, I Like It Raw was birthed out of a raw vegan challenge. And we have a raw vegan challenge coming up. I know sometimes people don't feel like they can commit to 30 days. So I got a smaller point of entry for you. We got 5-day challenge coming up in 2 weeks. And that 5-day challenge, I provide all the recipes. They're recorded, so you can see the videos and follow along, especially if like you're a visual learner. And then we have our check-in calls to support each other along the way. Excuse me. And I'm getting ready to launch I usually do plant-based 101 cooking series where we cook online together. But I'm actually launching this year for my 25th anniversary in this plant-based journey, but just like raw foods has always been front and center, our raw cooking series where we make food together. I've always been hesitant to do that because there is some equipment that can be costly in this world, like a dehydrator. But you can get a basic dehydrator and do all the things that we're going to do for this cooking class. But I wanted, or uncooking class, I wanted to have a deeper dive in making raw foods because I feel like sometimes people are not sure how to approach it. And that's also why I created the raw vegan bundle so that you can have as many recipes as possible to play with. In that raw vegan bundle, I have like Raw Fast, which is a book on specifically how to use raw foods to heal the body. And this other book I have is just breakfast, like different breakfast options. Then I have a dehydrator cookbook there as well. And so I'm just going to be talking about raw foods a little bit more than I usually do because I live on both sides. I'm not exclusively raw anymore. I would say I'm high raw. So like at least 60 to 75% of my day is raw, but I'm not 100%. And I just want people to really learn about the benefits. So my goal is not to try to make you 100% raw vegan. I'm just saying like add a couple of those meals in your diet and see how it feels, you know, or every solstice and equinox, consider going raw for a day or raw for a week. And if you need support, we got the 5-day challenge. We got recordings of me making the recipes and I'm talking about the benefits. If I've ever done any of my cooking classes, I don't just make the food. We talk about why these ingredients should be in your repertoire because of their healing qualities. And I really love to educate and empower people in their wellness journey. So been here for 25 years, so I can tell you the no's, the yes. And honestly, I didn't think I was going to be here. I remember the first time I saw someone eating raw collard greens. I was like, ew, disgusting. Are you eating raw collard greens? Really? Ew. So now I'm about to make a raw wrap. So the world is really funny. And I always say never, because you just never know where you're going to land. Because I definitely, 26, 27 years ago, was like, I'm never going to be vegan. I love my chicken. I haven't had chicken in 25 years. It's so, the way I love chicken, I would never imagine me being here. So I hope to see you. I'm going to try to go live a little bit more often. But thanks for having breakfast with me. And maybe I'll see some of you guys at Soak a Sweat in about an hour and change. So have a good day and see you soon.